All right, here we go.
Okay, grade 5. So we're going to actually simulate one day of our game here for you to play. So we're going to pretend this is day 1. Day 1, we got our envelope, and we're going to open up that envelope. So inside, we've already discussed this, but there's 2 cards in here. So I've got the family card, and I'm going to pass to Mr. Wutsky the region card. So again, here's my family card. My family card says, your family was selected to go and claim the new land for your government. You are adventurous and ready for the challenges of settling a new colony. You have strong ties to your culture and your religion. And I'm going to pause here really quickly before I keep reading about my strengths and weaknesses. My recorder, as I'm reading this right now, my recorder is recording her notes for our group. So she's actively working right now to help our group. Okay? I'll keep going. Strengths. You are more prepared for the adventure than other settlers. You can have any penalties from disaster cards. Refer to our previous video to know what that means if you're confused. You understand the importance of creating a strong relationship with Indigenous peoples and get +1 to anything from an Indigenous card. Now you have some weaknesses as well. One of your weaknesses is pride, which means you're kind of so self-assured that sometimes you make mistakes by being a little bit boastful or thinking so highly of yourself. You are proud of your culture and somewhat have a difficult time mixing with non-Indigenous cultures. So that means not with the First Nations people, but with some of the other groups that come to Rigel 3. Is it Rigel 3?
Yep.
So you might not mix and work well with some of those other groups. And because of that, you get -1 for trade with, -1 for any trade card.
-1 happiness.
Happiness, sorry.
So here's our region. Your ship lands on a rocky beach near a large ocean. The ocean is full of delicious fish and a great hub for training. There are enough trees to start a colony and ore for making tools. The weather is unpredictable and there are terrible ice storms in the winter. There is some farmland, but fishing seems to be the main source of food. So in my bonuses, we have fishing, which gives us +1 to our population score and resource cards. And we have national pride, which means 1 happiness for any culture card we draw. We also have some penalties in this region. We have ice storms, so we get -1 happiness and resource for weather cards. And sometimes we get some really bad viruses here. We get a -2 to our happiness and population for any disease cards. And our Indigenous peoples in this group are friendly and resourceful, and they're willing to trade with us and are somewhat peaceful. So here's our scenario for the day. So our scenario is a drought. Drought means that it doesn't rain for a while. So we live in an established community and we rely on plants and gardens that we've planted to sustain ourselves. We do not know where the drought is going to end and we want to survive. So right now we need to discuss what we're going to do based on our family, our resources in the region, and I don't know, creative ideas that we might have.
So one of my first ideas that I'm thinking of is, it said in our scenario card that we got, and just so you know, these scenarios will be posted on Google Classroom. Every group will get the same scenario for the day, but because they live in different regions, they're going to solve them differently. We live in a region we just read about that's right near the ocean. It's rocky, but it's also got some good resources for some gardening. And it's got really cold winters. So my first thought is, if it's really good by the ocean, or if it's really close to the ocean, perhaps we can fish, and we can really try and improve in our skills and ability to fish, so we can still have food. And I'm thinking like maybe we could even try and see if there's seaweed or any vegetation in the ocean for. You know, if we're not growing our own vegetables, maybe there's some things in there that we could still eat. We've got to figure out this drought. We're not able to garden. Maybe we turn to the ocean. I don't know. That's my first thought. What do you guys think?
I have another idea. So the sun can't help grow plants, but it can help with drying plants to save them as nutrients for the future. So whether we find plants on land that are still available or whether we use something like seaweed, as a dried way of having vegetation to eat. I think that would be another idea too.
And I immediately thought, hey, why don't we really focus on fishing and really try to establish trade with somewhere that doesn't have a drought? Being that we're at the ocean and we can build a ship to travel to another region, trying to trade for those vegetables from a different region.
So we've got to try and think of some of the implications of our ideas. And the other thing is, along with the idea of trade, it did say that the first native people that lived in this area were pretty peaceful. They've probably seen droughts before. They've lived here longer than we have. So maybe we can, work with them and learn from them and learn how to handle this, how they've handled it in the past, and get some ideas from them. That would be really valuable. But if we're going to turn to fishing or to harvesting seaweed and those kinds of things, we have to discuss, where are we getting our nets from? Do we have those types of materials? If we don't have those materials, do we have trees that we can make spears to try and spear fish? We gotta try and discuss how we're going to make this work.
Yeah, I guess this is day one, so we haven't really established a big colony. We're still
pretty new.
So maybe we don't have boats.
Yeah, that's another good point.
So maybe my idea isn't so good. But maybe trading with boats out to other colonies might not work. But I really liked your trading with the indigenous people. Maybe they know of some local plants that we don't know about that survive. So I like that idea.
Maybe when we packed our suitcases, we have some things in there that we don't think we're going to need that badly, and maybe they have a canoe.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk some trades there, like, maybe there's some opportunity to trade with the First Nations.
Yeah, I guess what would we be trading?
The only thing we have is our suitcase right now, really, right? Unless we spend the day really, working to find forestry and.
Or maybe we have skills that we can show others. If we came from a place that was good at fishing,
yeah, and
could we trade teaching that skill for assistance in another way?
Yeah, it says that in our profile card, that we're adventurous, we're ready for these challenges, and we have strong ties to our culture and religion. So, maybe some of the adventure seeking things has given us skills that we can show. And we have to be creative to think about what those might be.
So I think we should go with our First Nations plan.
Okay.
And I also think we should really try to scrounge the ocean and look for edible seaweeds and whatnot. And try to rely on fishing for our main source of food. We also need to talk about water. We can't really drink ocean water, can we? So what can we do about our water situation?
Yeah, as part of all this, we really have to figure out not just water, but shelter, wood, so we can create fires, because most people know, I hope grade 5s, if we have seawater, if we boil it, we can make it more edible for us to drink and use as potable water. So it's great that we have water, but we've got to somehow create fire to boil that water.
Well, it did say we had lots of trees and lots of ores for creating tools, so I think we could do that.
Yeah.
I think that's safe too. So
I hope we pack some sort of tools or axes or something, hatchets, something with which to work all these trees and shape these trees. If all we brought was clothes and hats, then we're going to be in real trouble to work a tree over, right?
Again, maybe our First Nations friends in this region can help us out with that.
Yeah.
So. We don't have electricity, so any power tools are not going to work.
Well,
I think we should rely on our First Nations group to help us survive this drought. I think we can boil some water. Maybe we can find some driftwood and whatnot if we don't have those tools.
Okay, well, you're our mayor, so I think if that's how you feel, we'll make sure that the recorder writes that down. We're going to use First Nations. We're going to use the fishery, try and solve our water and shelter, and then we'll bring it to the teacher to see what they think of our ideas.
How do you like that idea, Miss H? Miss F?
I think that it sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
All right, I'm down. I'm excited.
Excellent. Mr. Fate Bearer, take that to our teacher.
Done. Mr. Watsky!
Don't do that.
All right.
All right. So
I bring this to Mr. Watsky and say, okay, Mr. Watsky, we highlighted what we were going to do. Now, again, this would be done on a Google Doc, so you could take off the comments that you decided you weren't going to go with, and you could highlight the ones that you thought were most important. Down here where it says effects, no, you can't read that very good because on the video it will read backwards. But this section right here, that's where you talk about, well, what do we have to consider? If we're going to be fishermen, if we're going to trade with the First Nations people, we've got to have some sort of skills to trade with them. What are those skills? So we're going to try and highlight those in our notes. And once we've done that, we say to our teacher, all right, our recorder has filled this out. What do you think? Mr. Watsky is now a teacher, not a player. He's going to pretend he's a teacher, and he's going to evaluate our work.
Well, I think your group has done an amazing job at really thinking about the basic needs of life. That what do we need to survive? Not only that, you've really taken into consideration that it's the first day, that we don't have a lot of things, we're not incredibly established yet, and that you're trying to bring in a friendly First Nations people. I think that this deserves 2 4 cards. And that's my judgment. So the Fate Bearer.
So I'm the Fate Bearer. I got to go get these cards. I say, Mr. Watsky, can I pick any cards or just off the top of the pile?
We'll shuffle them up.
Okay.
And you can take them from wherever you want in this stack of cards.
Okay. Pick the next one. Right here. Okay, I got 1 green and 1 yellow. That means I got 1 fortune and 1 misfortune. All right, let's see how we did. Fortune. A neighboring colony comes to you with a much needed food for your colony. Oh, that's good because we just had a drought.
Yep.
Oh, that's huge. Because of the abundance of food you now have, your colony has a population boom. So we get plus 4 points. Our recorder is writing this down. Plus 4 points to resources. And we get plus 4 points to population.
Now, you remember about our weaknesses and our strengths from our cards? This was a trade card. You'll see that down at the bottom here. Our weakness says that we're pretty prideful and that we take a penalty for any trade card that we have with a non-Indigenous group. So our recorder also has to put -1 happiness from a trade card, unfortunately. All right, let's read the next card.
Do I take it from both or just one?
Just from happiness.
Just from happiness.
Oh. But I didn't have happiness. I just have resources and population.
Yeah, but because it's a trade card,
Okay.
we gotta have yeah. So then our misfortune card. Our misfortune card here says that if you look at the very bottom, and you can't maybe see that, but at the very bottom it says weather. So this is a misfortune card that's going to hit us with weather. It says the weather has turned over the course of the winter. A massive ice storm arrives. This ice storm has the potential to devastate next year's crops and vegetation growing. Oh, we've already had a drought, and now we have an ice storm, and even worse growing for the next year too. So we have -1 to our resources and another -1 to our happiness.
And unfortunately, with our region, we knew that we were going to get ice storms. We have to take another hit to our happiness and our resources for a bad weather card.
So now you have to add up. You're going to go forward some points and backwards some points, and you have to see at the end of the day, how do we do? How many points do we have total now?
And you can see your points. The teachers, when they review your cards, will have them posted on your Google Classroom doc.
So you can't edit them. Your teachers will edit them, but you can see how you're doing and how many points you have.
So this was the round of the game and kind of how it looks. During language arts now, we would take this idea of a colony coming to the rescue and an ice storm and turn that into a video blog. Just almost like a online diary talking about how we felt, what happened, creating a story with that. We'll get more into detail with that in language arts. Anyways, that's the game. Hope we hope that you'll enjoy it, and we will see
May
you.
the strongest settler win.
That's right. Have fun. Peace.